Viewer's choice. I got a whopping one request for this video review. So Avengers Endgame is directed by the Russo brothers. They also brought you Captain America Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War and Infinity War, which came out in 2018, right before this one. They filmed these two films back to back, and I can't even imagine how, because these Infinity War and Endgame are vastly different. It is ridiculous how different these movies are. But props to them, props to everyone, you know, that has worked on these movies. It is amazing how it took so much work, and I can't believe how flawless these movies have come out. So Avengers Endgame is a direct continuation of Infinity War. After the events of Infinity War, our characters are left with nothing. Half of the universe's population or life, all life in the universe, half of it has been destroyed by Thanos, and it tells the story of how our characters are coping with this, how they're trying to reverse the effects. They can't accept the death that has happened in the previous film. And that's heavy. There really is. If someone, for anyone that's lost anyone, this really hits close to home, because I'm pretty sure we've all been there. You know, what if I could undo this? What if I could bring them back? And that's tough. And it surprises me in a good way that Marvel and Disney are putting this message and this perspective in this movie, because there are a lot of children watching these. There are a lot of kids that, you know, may have lost someone, and they have to, you know, this is something that kind of tells them, you know, we know what it's like. And I only put that out there just because I, as a child, I was fortunate. I did not lose anyone until I was already a full-grown adult. So I'm really glad that this is there, because I couldn't handle it. I didn't know how to handle it. And I'm not saying kids should experience losses, you know, but it's definitely something that I don't know, I wish I could have been trained for a lot earlier. Anyhow, after that very grim introduction, what's this movie about? So again, the characters can't accept the loss of their friends, their family, and they can't accept the victory of Thanos from the previous film. So what they're going to do, or they're going to try to attempt, is to reverse the effects of the last movie. So this is a time travel movie like no other. It's actually kind of crazy, because what I got from it was this Saturday morning cartoon vibe from it, but it was handled way more maturely than I ever could have expected. It was definitely something that kids will enjoy, but the time travel stuff is explained in a very scientific and adult manner that you actually you go along with it. It does not feel like a Saturday morning cartoon. When I say that, I meant that the premise and the way that it's executed almost has that essence, but you have to watch it to really understand what I mean by that. So in order to fully appreciate this movie, and this is not just me being a nerd, this is not me being like a fanboy, but you really have to watch all of the other ones. There are so many lines of dialogue in this movie that call back to other films in the franchise. There are little things, there are big things, but they really outdid themselves with the writing. There are so many things that this movie heavily relies on from previous films. So as previously suggested, I would really recommend that you watch all the other MCU movies that released prior to this one before watching this one. However, if I had to, shorten it to a required must-watch list before watching this one, it would have to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, Thor: The Dark World, Captain Marvel, and Avengers: Infinity War. There's a little bit of the first Avengers and Captain America: The Winter Soldier sprinkled in there, but as long as you watch the other ones, you should fully be well equipped for this one. However, really, watch all the other 20 movies, please. So the great thing about this movie is that it is 3 hours long and it did not feel like 3 hours. The Russo brothers have somehow geniusly made the storytelling in this movie captivating from front to back. There is no moment where you are feeling like this movie is dragging or you're missing something or that it's filler. This movie is fantastic. 3 hours long, and you do not want to miss a beat of it. You want to be there for the whole thing. It is an amazing experience from beginning to end, and I can't stress that enough. It does not feel like 3 hours. It did not feel like 3 hours to me, and a lot of people are actually saying that from what I've been hearing. It's just the story, fantastic. I'll be honest, I don't know if I can say any bad things about this one. I don't. Maybe it's because I'm not the biggest Marvel nerd, or when it comes to the movies or the comic books, but I just really can't find bad things to say about it. At the beginning, it is very heavy, very serious, very tense, and you feel the sense of loss in these characters, in the story. They're not messing around. It is deep, and I love it. It is emotionally deep. Again, as I mentioned, this is a time travel movie, and I'm not going to nitpick time paradoxes. You can go watch other videos on YouTube that will go into that. I didn't find anything that I really could say anything bad about, and I'm not about to nitpick time paradoxes because that's just a cop-out to find negatives, in my opinion. And again, too many people are into that. Too many people want to make their own theories up. Too many people want to find, a loophole in time travel. As far as time travel movies goes, this is pretty tight. This is as closed as possible. There are not many things that you can find where you can branch out or find a doorway or loophole that you can make something up from. They did a good job of covering all their tracks. Again, I'm saying this from my perspective. There are so many fan theories out there, and y'all can watch them on other channels, but I'm not going to waste my time or your time just trying to find something negative from this film. So everyone's been crying at this movie. Did I cry? I'll tell you in a bit. So this movie has apparently everyone crying. Even one person had to go to the hospital because of the emotion behind this movie. And I've already told you how I feel about the way that emotion is carried in this movie. Well, regardless of the characters and what happens to certain characters, what happens, the outcomes in certain stories, fun fact, yes, I did cry, but I think what I'm about to tell you had a lot to do with it. So there's a child in this movie that looks a lot like my child and acts and says things that my child would say, and that got to me. It just 10 times more than I probably would have felt with just the regular emotion of how things play out in this movie. I definitely cried, and that is why. It's silly, but if you're a parent, you're gonna know why. And man, that was a hit in the chest like no other. That just broke me in the theater. So this review has been very vague, and I get that. and this is why. It's because I don't like spoilers. I did mention that it's a time travel movie, and then I also talked about how emotionally connected I am to the film, and how you should watch other of the MCU movies before watching this one, and that's about it. I commended the writing in it, and here's the reason why. I don't like spoilers. I don't like when someone spoils something huge, and if I ever mention an event that happens in a movie, I don't consider it a spoiler. And I'm very tough on what I consider a spoiler. So for example, in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, when I mentioned the Indoraptor, that's not a spoiler. It would have been had the marketing behind that movie kept the Indoraptor a secret, but they didn't. So I'm going to talk about the Indoraptor. With Venom, when I talk about Riot killing his employees, or Drake's employees, because at this point Drake is fused with Riot, that's not a spoiler, just because you expect the villain of the movie to obviously kill a bunch of people. Now, if he had killed someone that was important, I would not have mentioned that. But in this point, they were just a bunch of generic characters. So with this film, again, with Avengers Endgame, I am not going to go into detail because I don't do spoilers. And even though it's made 1.6 billion, I think now, I know there are people that haven't watched it. So that's that. So yeah, again, negatives. I couldn't really find any. I'm pretty sure the film has its flaws. However, anytime I do any of these reviews, it's just my opinion and how I rate my experience watching this. So this hasn't been brought up in any of my videos, but I'm pretty sure it will later on. So I'll just go ahead and address it. Some of you might notice that I do wear a piece of duct tape on my finger. I have a wart there, and I'm doing the duct tape treatment. Plus, I also don't want to infect or spread the infection. So that's that. So this is the first for the show. Avengers Endgame gets a 10 out of 10. Perfect score, perfect movie, amazing. Go watch it. If you have already, watch it again and enjoy it. It's beautiful. And I haven't been this impacted by a movie in a long time. I loved it, and it is definitely going to be one of my favorite films of all time. All of that being said, hope you enjoyed the review, even though it was more of me just praising the movie. Go watch it, like I said, and I will see you in the next one. I don't know what the next video will be. Put your comments down below, and this has been DJ Myst. I love you 3000.